that we are happy with our plan's overall structure and the allocation of resources, where we've changed them all to 20%. It's good to do an overall check, so we need to know and ensure that no resources are over allocated, which we've done. We also need to make sure that all tasks have resources assigned and that all milestones have resources assigned. And to do this, with the task ribbon selected, we're going to, from the view drop down, select resource usage. Just going to expand this column over to the right a little bit there, so we can see everything. Now, so you can see on the left hand side the resource names and the assignments that those resources are currently assigned to. Now we can't see the information, which is the work information on the right hand side, because currently we are on the 18th of September 2023, and obviously our project start date is the 4th of July 2022. So a tip here to jump to a date is press the function 5 key, the F5 key, which brings this go to dialog box. I'm then going to enter the 4th of July 2022 here and click OK. And there you go, and now it's moved us to that date. So, and what you can see over on the right are the hours, and we can see that there's no over allocations, obviously because the red icon indicator has now been removed based on us changing all these people to 20% allocation. You can, if you wish, make manual adjustments to the hours here also. Again, just be careful, and as you make these adjustments you can see the impact of those adjustments on the assignment here. You can also change the shape of your assignment. So currently the default of when someone's allocated to a task, it's flat, is a flat rate. It's a bit like when we talked about the way that costs are allocated to a task. In the same way, you can also change the way that work's allocated to a task, and you can look at the way that's done and change it by going into, if I right click on any of these assignments for Fred Blogs, so if I take Assemble Monitor and right click and then click Information, I am now going into the assignment information. And what you can see here is the work contour. So we can see the total work is 16 hours. We can see Fred's allocation is 20, and also I can look at different allocations, so I can change the way that Fred is allocated. So I can choose front loaded, I can choose back loaded, double peak, early peak, and these are all the shapes. So I'm just going to leave it on flat. And I would say you can use this, but again, I don't think there's any real need to. So, with that said, I can see that we've got a number of milestones here that have not been assigned a resource. And because Jane is our project manager, Jane is ultimately accountable for these milestones being delivered on time. So to represent that, I think it's good practice to assign that individual to the milestone. And the way that I'm going to do this is if I click on when main unit assembly is complete, and up here on the task ribbon again, I'm going to hit the details icon here, which will then bring up a split screen view, and what you can see is the information on that task. And here we can, on the left hand side under resource name, assign Jane to this task. Now remember, it's a milestone, so therefore it's 0 duration, 0 work, so it does not impact any type of over allocation analysis. It just states that Jane is responsible and accountable for that milestone. So I'm going to click in here, do the drop down, and I'm going to select Jane Smith, and I'm going to tab, and I'm going to repeat this for all the milestones. There, all done, and you can see now that Jane is allocated to all the milestones. And what you can see here is that it's not driving any any work or any effort. So you can see this first milestone is 0 hours because it's a 0 duration. And I think just a small point about assigning resources to milestones. Again, there are opinions. Please look at your organisation's planning standards. I personally believe it is good practice to assign somebody to the milestone, typically the person who is accountable, not necessarily the person who is the doer, but the person who is accountable for the delivery of that milestone. So it could be a sponsor, for example, also. But for the purposes of this exercise, we've assigned our project manager. I'm then going to unclick the details to remove the split screen. And just a quick look at our assignments. We can see Jane Smith and her assignments. She's on the parent task and then she's assigned to the milestones. We've got Fred and the assignments that Fred has, Bill, Mary and Gary. I'll now switch back to the Gantt chart view. And again, once you've completed this, remember to save your project file. Whenever you are working within a project or a program, you'll hear the phrases "we are planning left to right" or "we need to plan from right to left." And what they're fundamentally talking about are two approaches to planning. The first, left to right, is where you are planning from a specific start date and trying to understand when you will deliver that project. So that's left to right. And the second approach, which is right to left, is where you've got a deadline where you need to deliver something. So you set that deadline so you can understand when do you need to start that project in order to meet that deadline. So let's look at these two examples. So let's look at the first one, but first I need to create a sample project. So just bear with me while I create a widget project very quickly. And there you go. I've created my widget project for this demonstration. So in the first example, we're going to look at left to right. So the question is, if I start my project on the 5th of September 2022, what is my forecast finish date? So to answer this question, I'm going to go into project information. So on the project ribbon, select project information. And it's already set project start date, so this is already set to plan from left to right. So I'm going to change the date here to the 22nd of September 2022. And click OK. Now, again, if I just shrink this view over here so you can see it all. And what we can see here is we can see the whole task. We can see that the project will complete on the 28th of December 2022 if we start it on the 22nd. Another way of reviewing this information, especially when you've got over 1,000 tasks, for example, is if you go to project information, and if I look at the stats here, I can see here currently you've got the project starting on the 22nd of September 2022 and that it will finish on the 28th of December 2022, and there's currently 70 days duration in this project. Because we've got no resources or any costs associated with this, that's why that work and the cost is not showing here. So if I click close, now, so the answer to the first question is the 28th of December. Let's look at it from right to left. So we've got to deliver the project on the 28th of October 2022. So when do we need to start this project? Again, if I, on the project ribbon, select project information. and I'm going to change this schedule from project start date to project finish date, and I'm going to enter here the 28th of October 2022 and click OK. Now if I go into my project information again and look at the stats, you can now see that based on a required completion date of the 28th of October 2022, I needed to start this project on the 25th of July 2022. So there is a very quick example of two planning approaches. That's left to right, i.e. planning from a start date, and right to left, i.e. planning from a deadline and seeing when we need to start the project to hit that deadline.